Hi guys, what's up and welcome to Boston. We're here at a 100-year-old hotel called the Fairmont at Copley Plaza, Boston. This has its own ghosts, but we're going to be around Boston and Salem for the next few days doing some filming and show you the most haunted locations. So we're going to go down and show you some of the older parts of this hotel. So come with us on this journey. Okay, so even the lifts in this place date back to like 1925. So it reminds me of the Shining Hotel for Stephen King movie. Fairmont Hotel, guys. I'm going to take you to a black and white photograph which shows you parties here 100 years ago. Just reminds me of the Shining Hotel.
Reminds me of The Shining. Everything about it says The Shining, and if I come out of one of them rooms and there's two twins at the end of that corridor, I'm legging it back in. Definitely.
Okay everybody, so come with us and join us on this spooky tour in Boston. We're going to be going up to Salem to meet the witches, to do some witchcraft things, and we're going to be looking at Pirates Bay. Okay Andy, up the spooky staircase and off to our room. So yeah, this hotel dates back to 1912, as we know from the history and the photographs that are dotted around. And we're gonna go up to 3 floors, are we?
Yeah.
And all the rooms are old. It's been a hotel since 1912, but then they added on in 1927 they started doing the ballroom and the parties, and all the extra black and white photographs that we've got dotted around are from that era. And the 1930s also, you can see the women in the 1930s style dresses and the big hats that used to be worn back then. So just had to show you a little bit of this place before we go on around Boston and do all the ghost stories and spooky stuff that we've got to do around here. So stay with us on this journey, guys.
Yeah, this is very old, very old. But quite haunted, I would imagine. A lot of history attached to this place, I would definitely think so. It's a good over 100 years old as a hotel, but what was there before we're not quite sure. Obviously it's a very old building because not a lot's been changed in it, so we've got more planned, and enjoy the spooky tour.
So guys, we're in Boston now and we're going to go on a spooky tour. We're going into 2 graveyards tonight, really old graveyards for America. They're like 400 years old, these graveyards, same like ours back home in the UK. So whilst we're here, we just want to give a big shout out to Squatcher Tutors, who we met yesterday on the Squatch stall.
Yeah.
Andy?
It was great because it was brilliant seeing meeting a guy and talking to a guy who's actually been out Bigfoot hunting and actually had experience of stuff being thrown at him while he's been out in the woods and stuff like that. And he actually showed us a video of one night when he was out fishing in the lake, and he showed us this video, and it's like a pair of eyes, but you can see the outline of the Bigfoot head. It was amazing. Yeah, we could have bought all of his stall up, but yeah, he gave us a number and everything like that. But yeah, it was just so amazing to meet somebody who actually goes out every weekend hunting for Bigfoot and who's had experience of it. It was amazing. Yeah, really great.
So, as you can see, it's pouring down with rain here, so some of the things over on the East Coast USA are not that different from Britain. But will that stop us from going in graveyards in the middle of the night? No. So we'll catch you in the graveyard later. American flags. A lot of American flags on graves. American flags on graves. We're keeping quiet, guys, just out of respect for the neighbours around here. Oh, we walked off too far. So this is kind of like Edinburgh Vaults. There's a lot of people doing paranormal around here. Just going to show you guys around. I want you to see the spookiest side of Boston. So what I'm going to do, guys, we're going to bring you back here during the day and tell you some interesting stories about some of these gravestones, some that are filled with bullet holes. So we're in graveyard number 2. Really creepy, really spooky, some great ghost stories. But we're being taken around by a guide tonight, so what me and Andy are going to do is we're going to come back and tell you these stories and show you these gravestones on a better night when the weather's better for everybody. You can see it better too.
Graveyard, Boston scary graveyard. I'm dressed up like a chicken, but hey, it's wet. But yeah, there's some really good stories here about serial killers and everything. Really good, really good. Yeah.
So we're going amongst the tombs. The lighting's not very good for you guys tonight, so this is why we're going to come back during the daytime and take you to all of these interesting gravestones and tell you all of the stories of highwaymen and serial killers and the grave that's had bullet holes put through it. See if you can spot any orbs as we walk through. We're always on the lookout for orbs. Okay, so those were some of the graveyards of Boston by night, but we're going to go back around there during the daytime and show you the graves and do the ghost stories as well for you. Okay guys, so we brought you back by daylight to show you this grave with the bullet holes in it, and we found a story out about this grave now. It actually belonged to an English merchant who lived in London at Fleet Street, and he was a wine merchant, and what he did, I'll show you the grave. He sent 60 casks of wine into Boston and didn't pay any tax, dodged the tax, so the people could get it cheaper. So the English soldiers found out about that and they decided to fire at his grave. So we have some bullet holes here, yeah, there. So these are all bullet holes, yeah, that the English soldiers fired at this grave in like anger. That and one at the bottom, what Andy's pointing to there. Yeah. So in anger, the English soldiers fired shots at that gravestone because he was evading the tax. There was a lot of disputes about taxes being levied on goods coming in from England at that time, and this is what kicked off the Boston Tea Party riots, where they drowned all the tea into the river because they would not pay the tax on it. So that's we've got 3 old graveyards of Boston that we went through the other night in the dark, in the pouring rain. But being America, we're not allowed to do paranormal in graveyards here. They have different laws and they respect the dead. So obviously we're just going to film around and tell you the ghost stories and show you a few of the sites while we're at it. So we're going to go to a second interesting grave, and we had a bit of a weird experience with this one. So we'll tell you about that when we get to it. So should we do a tour of the graveyard first? All the graves here seem to have American flags on. People, when they come to visit the dead, they'll put an American flag on. So at the back there is the Charles River, which comes in from the ocean to Boston. And it's the Charles River where all the ships came in, bringing goods from England, such as tea, wines, whatever the British brought into London from like India or China. They then brought it over here to Boston, and they were supposed to pay tax on everything they brought in here, and there was a lot of riots kicking off because the British were then smuggling stuff in, as in the grave with the bullet holes. The patriots of America were like, we're not paying these taxes, and the British, who were smuggling things in without the tax, were treated as being disrespectful to King George III on our throne in England, and so therefore the Boston Tea Party kicked off. Really, the American Revolution, the war between America and Britain, all started with tea being dumped in the Charles River. Okay, so this is a haunted grave. It's a man and his wife and daughter on the left, buried here. And there has been some paranormal activity around this particular grave, and we experienced some ourselves the other night when we went back to the hotel, and I'll tell you what happened.
Yeah.
So obelisks again for Masonic people, and it's interesting to see that they have the rails round tombs here as well, so they must have had the same problem going on with body snatchers that we had back in the UK. But Boston is also a big medical university, so I'm guessing that's the reason why. You can see the American flags on all the graves. We'll go further amongst the gravestones and we can tell you what happened to us in the hotel room the other night, which was a bit weird. Okay. Andy. So, what happened in the room the other night? That grave I just showed you, where it was like father and mother and daughter on the left side. If you stand long enough at that grave, studying the epitaph and staring into the actual gravestone, you're supposed to dream of the man. He's supposed to come to you in your dream and haunt you. So that night, Andy was asleep in bed, and I woke up early and made a coffee. As I was sat there just reading, the door creaked open on its own, our wardrobe door, and Andy, in a really deep, gruff man's voice that I've never heard before, said, "Is it windy?" Do that in your deepest, gruffest voice.
Is it windy?
He like that. And I said to him, "Did you speak to me then?" And he did it a second time. Go on.
Is it windy?
And when he woke up, he had no recollection of that. So we're putting that down to this grave, because we were the night before in the pouring rain, stood at that grave.
Yeah, to be honest with you,
doing the thing where you stare and read the epitaph, and
we've tried everything to make that door open, and you literally have to yank it open to get it open.
Yeah.
It doesn't open. It's not even touching the floor, so it's not like you could make it move walking past it. So it just seemed funny. It was after we'd come back that night, and after what we were told. So
okay, so with that, we'll take you to graveyard number 2, near the hotel where Charles Dickens spent a lot of his time writing A Christmas Carol.
The next Forest Hills train arrives in 5 minutes. The following Forest Hills train is stopped 6 stops away. The next train to East.
Okay guys, so that's Benjamin Franklin's grave, one of the presidents of America. And he has the obelisk because, going back to what we did in Washington DC, the lost symbols of Masons, he was a big believer in astrology and astronomy and symbols, and he was a big believer in numerology, and he wrote actually himself some codexes. So he had something to do with Freemasonry. He was born here in Boston, and he was brought up here, and he lived most of his life here, and he only went down to Philadelphia and Washington DC when he became the president. So that's his obelisk grave right there. We're going to take a little tour around this graveyard. This is where we were the other night in the absolutely deluge of rain, which is it's eased off a bit now, but we're still getting like they've had 2 days. We've had 2 days of is it a nor'wester or a nor'easter? I'm going to call it a nor'wester since we're from the northwest of England. We've had a nor'wester for 2 days. So let's just film some of these old graves whilst we're in here. So this is one of the 3 oldest graveyards in Boston. And we did come in here at night time with a ghost person, but we're not allowed to do paranormal in the graveyards in the city anyway. It might be a different thing in the suburbs and stuff, but in the city centres they're very respectful of the graves, particularly when you've got presidents buried and stuff there. So we've not done any paranormal, but we've just filmed around and doing the spooky stories for you. And it's becoming autumn now, which is nice because a lot of the places are decked out for Halloween with pumpkins already. So we're going to take a look at some of those places later on in this programme. It's Graves and Ghosts of Boston. A lot of history because this city actually goes back 400 years. So for an American city, it's very, very, very historical. It's just interesting to take a look around really. You can hear the trolley bus in the background there. They've still got the old Victorian trolley buses running. So we're going to go to the top end past the Franklin grave and then we'll see what we've got back at the other end, because there are some pretty big gravestones coming up. So we're going to head up. There's flags again, American flags. They put the flag out on the graves too instead of flowers, especially in this season. They are putting a lot of flags on the gravestones, which is nice. The side of the Franklin grave. You can hear the sirens. It's like this all the time in the cities here. I'm hoping it's a fire engine that I can get a good shot of it for you, because the fire engines are really cool here. Let's just see what comes past, and if it's a fire engine, well,
whatever it is, it's making a record.
it's very loud, and it sounds like a fire engine. Whether he comes this way, we'll see. It's like this all the time here, guys. No matter which city you go to in the US, it's like, is it fire? Oh, it's ambulance. Oh, and never mind. If that had been a fire engine, that would have been a good piece of footage to show you. Ambulance is the same as ours, but the fire engines are really cool. Welcome to America. And we thought Britain was bad. So there's a lot of big tombstones up this end. Big Victorian tombstones. And some are made of brick too, which is interesting because I don't think we have any brick ones back in the UK. Let me just show you. Look at this one here, it's like a chimney pot. It's done out of brick. Red brick, so I've never seen that before. Graves. I think they just really built the graves out of what they could afford, to be fair. Whatever materials they could afford for that particular family. These are the older ones on this side. These tombs. So vampire graves, what I call vampire graves with the hand dangling out these. So we were in here the other night, at night time. That's the back end of the Benjamin Franklin grave. Alright guys, so this is graveyard number 2. The next graveyard we're going to go to is right beside the hotel where Charles Dickens stayed, and it's also haunted. So whose is this grave?
This is the grave of Paul Revere. Now, from what I understand is, he was given papers, he rode out in the middle of the night to all the different places where all the different generals were and everything, on his own, all over this area, to warn them that the British were arriving. So when the British were here, arrived, the Patriots knew they were on the way, so they were ready for them. Very, very significant person in the history of America. All Americans know his name. He might not be as well known in other countries, but this was the guy. He got on his horse, he passed all messages to all the different places in the area that the British had arrived, telling them how many, where they were coming from, how much artillery they had and everything. And so the Americans were ready for the British. Yeah, so he's a very, very well-known character. Yeah.
Very old gravestones. And they've also got the skull and crossbones at the top of them too, like we have in the ones in Edinburgh. If you remember this episode we did at Greyfriars Vault not long back in summer. They've got the same skull and crossbone style at the tops of the graves, if you can see that there. So it's like, I think that the British brought over the designs of the gravestone from England when they came over here to settle in Boston and New York. And these are the old gravestones. Obviously you go up to like modern places like Arlington Cemetery and it's a totally different story up there. Everything's brand new and it's well kept clean and it's respected. These older gravestones, they're very Victorian, I'd say from sort of 16s to 1800s, these graveyards in the city centre. It very much, it's the cemetery here now in the US. It's very well set out and very organised and very clean, and they're very big on respecting their dead. And the thing is, as much as we'd love to do paranormal in the graveyards here, we've got to remember we're in the US and we need to respect that.
Yeah, because I mean, different countries, different beliefs, different. You've got to respect the place you're in, and if that's what they believe, and that's why the graveyards, burial grounds are locked up at night so people can't do stuff like that, then that's fair enough. That's how they believe, and you've got to respect that. It's just
So this is the Charles Dickens Hotel. This is where Charles Dickens famously wrote his Christmas Carol story, the Christmas story, and apparently the third floor is where he stayed, and apparently that third floor is haunted, and they still have the mirror of Charles Dickens up there somewhere. So it has had numerous ghost sightings, not of Charles Dickens but of different people from that era that have stayed here in the past, which I always find that hotels can tend to be very haunted places. Having worked in one myself in Manchester city centre 30 years ago, a 5-star hotel called the Portland, we did have also a couple of ghosts that were quite notorious to that hotel. So I do think that these hotels, particularly the older ones, do attract like people that have just really enjoyed staying here, loved it or loved working here, who come back, and just remain here. Well, this is the oldest and the most haunted one in Boston. The Omni Parker Hotel. So there again we have the Omni Parker Hotel, the Charles Dickens Hotel, where he stayed. Very beautiful hotel, very haunted. Now we're at the third and final graveyard, eldest ones in Boston. So there are some people buried here from the Mayflower ship, which was the first ship to sail into Boston with immigrant people from, was it Ireland and England, Andy, or was it just Ireland? From England?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're just gonna show you around this one. This is very city centre, this, so it's going to be quite a few people trekking around this one. But we just wanted to give you the opportunity to see it. I think this is actually the oldest one in Boston, and it's right by the Omni Parker Hotel where Charles Dickens used to come and spend time here when he was in America. Charles Dickens came to America quite a lot because he was trying to reform the prison system in England, and he decided to come over and have a look at the prison system in America because he wanted to try and get things made better for us back in the UK. And I know he did end up making improvements to the prisons in London, and also the prison in Lancaster too. He managed to make improvements to with his campaigning. So not only was he an author, he was also a very important man when it came to prison reform, and he also got women into writing. Charles Dickens, he formed the first women's only writing group. He ran a magazine in London and he invited people to write for that, famous writers such as the Bronte sisters and Elizabeth Gaskell from Manchester. He encouraged women to print in their own name. So not only did he write, amazing novels that have been turned into musicals and films, he also campaigned for a lot of improvements for the poorer people, the working class, the prisoners and the women, who were classed as second class anyway in those days. So that's the back side of the Omni Parker Hotel, the other side of the graveyard there. So you can imagine staying in a haunted hotel in Boston. He probably was given the inspiration to do his Christmas carols because this apparently was the place. The Americans are very, very proud of the fact that he wrote that story right here. Now, the Christmas Carol story itself as a book is only 50 pages long, so you can actually sit and read it on Christmas Eve, and I recommend that as something really different to do Christmas Eve, instead of sticking the TV on under Sky and watching what's on there and all that and going for a drink at the pub or whatever. Whatever you do on Christmas Eve, at some point try and pick up a copy of Charles Dickens' Christmas Carol and read it, because it's only 50 pages long. It'll only take you like an hour, and it's I mean, I recommend all his books, but then I'm a flipping antiquarian book mad person, so, which you never know that, but those people that know me will already know that. Alright, so we're going to go down to the Back Bay end of Boston now, where the brownstone houses are, and tell you a little bit of a pirate ghost story. Okay, so we brought you guys up to Harvard University. I'm going to take a look around this whole area now. So this is the famous Harvard University, everybody. Harvard. It's where lawyers do their degrees and train for the bar. It's where science. We've got Professor Loeb, who's studying at the minute the Atlas 3I, whatever it is, meteor or spacecraft that's gone now behind the moon, I believe. If you Google Professor Loeb, you can get the latest details on the Atlas 3I, which we were up at Winter Hill the other week, looking at the skies, trying to pick that out, but couldn't yet because it's gone behind the moon. So he lives and works here. This is his residency. As far as I know, they have a telescope up on the roof here, and he keeps regular sort of views on what's going on in outer space. So Professor Loeb, he's a science teacher here, professor, but he also has his own project Galileo going on, where he's studying any unusual meteorites that might be coming towards Earth. He's trying to find out what they are, where they're headed. Are they going to be a threat, or are they going to pass by? So one thing about Professor Loeb and his work, and his students too, not just him, they're all doing this project together. He discovered the Muai, if you remember that meteorite that was headed towards Earth a few years back, 2018 I think. It was a long meteorite. They believed at first was a piece of rock, and then as it got closer, it was emitting signals at either end. So Professor Loeb has now come up with the conclusion that he thinks it was a probe connected to this Atlas 3I, which has now entered our space. They first picked that up. One of the probes from NASA went up towards Pluto, and they picked it up then about 8 months ago, and they've tracked it, and now it's gone behind the moon. So if anybody's interested in that, soon, October, November, December, clear nights, if you look up to the moon, we should be able to see something resembling like a white glow in the skies. Professor Loeb from here, Harvard, is tracking that right now and trying to collect data on it. So these are some of the oldest Harvard buildings. Mostly it's been a law school in its past and present day. And if anybody's a fan of the Dan Brown novels, Professor Robert Langdon from Da Vinci Code, Angels and Demons, and The Lost Symbol that we've just shot back up in Washington. Professor Langdon is based at this university, even though he's a fictional character. But John Grisham himself, the writer, actually attended this Harvard University. He studied law, and he was a lawyer for about 15 years before he gave it up and went writing into books full time. And his first novel, A View to a Kill, did very well, so he decided to write The Firm, and that was the one that really shot into stardom with the movie featuring Tom Cruise, The Firm. And he's just written the second part to that, actually, 30 years later. So he came to this university and studied law here, graduated, practiced law, and then decided to go into doing books instead and movies. Alright, Andy.
There is one thing about Harvard that a lot of people probably know about, and it fits in with your symbols of Washington DC. In here there is a so-called what they call a secret society called Skull and Bones, which you don't ask to join, you get nominated. Very, very secret society, very, very weird initiation ceremonies.
Is it Masonic?
It's a bit of everything. It connects up with the Masonic thing, because there have been places where in Masonic halls that they have seen symbols of Skull and Bones. Probably a few presidents have been members of Skull and Bones. Recently, I think probably the most well-known recent one is George Bush, the ex-president of America. Very, very secret society, Skull and Bones. you're a member of Skull and Bones, it probably means you're going to end up with one of the top jobs in this country.
So it's hot for us yet then?
Yeah, quite a few presidents have been members of Skull and Bones who've come to this university. Top businessmen. I mean, we're top financial men. Yeah, very, very secretive society.
So, okay, so this is Harvard Library, University Library. So it's like it's its own town really. It's got all different buildings going off here, there, and everywhere. So just come and stand on the steps. Well, me and Andy are just going to talk to you a little bit about some of the funniest things that we've encountered when we've been in the States travelling. Is the people on the subway. It's absolutely hilarious. You could just go up and down on the subway and film it, and it is the funniest thing. We just seen two guys now, didn't we, Andy?
But it's like one of them that you really don't want to make eye contact with them, but you're listening to what they're saying. So one guy in a wheelchair and the other one sat a bit further, sat about 10 seats away, who's obviously under the influence of something. He was like, half here, half not here. So his mate in the wheelchair saying to him, "What's up with you today? You look half asleep. You look as though you've got narcolepsy." "Yeah, I'm just a bit tired." So he's going on, this guy in the wheelchair, and he went, so they're talking, he says, "What are you doing?" He says, "What I think I might do," he says, "I might travel this train all the way up to Davis, get off, and then come back down and ride it all the way to the end again, and then go back up again."
Did you not hear what he said about, literally the guy was about 25 stone, slumped in a wheelchair, right? And he said, "I'm going to get me a job driving trucks to LA and back, and then when I make my money, it's hasta la vista, America. I'm out of here. This place is getting gnarly." Really, we should really just film the subway, because it's the best part of the travel in here.
It's just...
Maybe that's where we should go, Andy, the Gloomy Gallery.
Edward Gorey.
The Gloomy Gallery by Edward Gorey. Does that not just sound like our kind of thing?
Edward Gorey. Sounds,
Okay, so going back to Professor Loeb, who works here and teaches students science and also works for NASA. He's one of the people that's really speaking out right now about alien visitations to Earth. And he's treating it as a science. He isn't treating it as like a topic to be ignored or ridiculed. He's treating it as a proper science. He's with his students doing the Galileo project, and they are studying the possibility of life coming from other planets to visit ours. So he's especially paying a lot of attention and focus right now to the Atlas 3I, which I think everybody needs to be googling that and reading a little bit about it. It's so important to what's going on in our airspace right now, and still they're not actually 100% decided whether it's a UFO or whether it's an AI object that's come from someplace else, or whether it's something natural like a meteorite. But the thing that makes Professor Loeb and his team believe that it's not a meteorite is the fact that it's emitting signals, and NASA has been receiving signals from it now for about 4 months, something like that. These are the halls of residence, guys. It's kind of like Cambridge in some ways, and Oxford, where they have the old like halls and stuff. Now I'm going to take you over here because there seems to be some Masonic engravings on the wall. We'll see what it is. This is what we were looking out for in Washington DC. These kind of symbols. They usually mean something to the world of Masons. We'll just zoom in on this and show you this. There's some famous heads as well, you know, carved in. Like there's some famous people carved in here and there. Presumably had something to do with the university. Class of 19, in memory of the class of 1900. So that's how far back this building goes. Beautiful buildings. Okay, so we're inside Harvard Science Museum now, and this place is like one mad laboratory. It's got all the original pieces. Stuff that the Harvard University students used to study back in the 1900s. It's like one mad scientist laboratory, isn't it? It's like the Frankenstein laboratory. Got like everything in here you could think about. Black and white photos. It's just one inventor's dream. You've got telescopes.
Yes, so some of the generating staff, which is steam engines. Yeah, these are mostly staff electricity.
Okay guys, so we're just going to finish this shoot at Harvard by showing you the Harvard Law School. And we had to show you some of the insane, crazy, mad inventors stuff we managed to get into the science section.
Yeah.
This uni goes back to like 1750 or thereabouts. So all that crazy stuff in there was like what mad professors invent, so we just had to show you that bit. So that's all from Harvard. Follow up our next series in Boston, which is going to be Pirates and Witches, and we'll see you all very soon. And thank you once again for liking and subscribing and share with your friends and your family if you think we're worth watching, and take care of yourselves. Goodbye for now.